Hey, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I hope you enjoy my stories and please, feel free to tell me if you liked it. Well, without further ado, let's begin. 3 years ago, I graduated from high school with a small but meaningful amount of money saved from my part-time job at the local cafe. It wasn't much, but every early shift and every burnt cup of coffee felt like it had led to something. I stood at that strange crossroads where everything feels possible and terrifying at the same time, wondering what I was supposed to do next with my life. That's when the idea hit me. A trip. Not just a vacation, but something that felt like closure. A way to shut the door on that chapter of my life and prepare myself for whatever came next. A reset. I thought about traveling with my childhood friends. I started searching for destinations that weren't the usual tourist magnets. I wanted adventure, exploration, the feeling of stepping into the unknown. That's when I came across Peru. The more I read, the deeper I fell. Its culture, its layered history, landscapes that felt ancient and untouched. Eventually, my attention settled on Junín, a province in the Andean region. The photos showed vast mountains, quiet valleys, and pre-Incan ruins that barely appeared on travel blogs. Places most tourists never bothered to visit. That was exactly what I wanted. A few weeks later, I brought the idea up to Brian, Rose, and Phil. Their reactions were mixed. They liked Peru, sure, but in their minds, Peru meant Machu Picchu. The iconic ruins, the crowds, the photos everyone recognizes instantly. They argued that if we were going all the way there, it would be a waste not to see the most famous site. I tried to explain that I was looking for something different. Something quieter, more isolated. A place where it felt like we were discovering something, rather than following a trail laid out for millions before us. But I couldn't convince them. The idea of Machu Picchu was too strong, too tempting. Later that evening, as I was leaving Phil's house to head home and start thinking seriously about packing and planning, Rose caught up with me at the door. The night air was cool, and the streetlights painted everything in a soft yellow glow. "Hey," she said, a little hesitant. "I think that adventure you mentioned could be really interesting. But only if we can go to Machu Picchu afterward. You know, so we don't miss the chance." I raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Oh, so you talked to the others about it?" She shook her head. "No, it's just my idea. I could really use a trip like this. And it'd be even better with good company." Something about the way she said that made my chest feel warm. I smiled wider and opened my arms without thinking. She stepped in and hugged me, and for a moment, everything felt simple, grounded. "This trip is going to be great," I thought. Rose and I have always had a strong connection. We get along effortlessly, like we're tuned to the same frequency. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about taking things further with her. The idea had crossed my mind more times than I'd admit. But I was afraid of ruining what we already had. Indecision has always been my curse. As I walked home that night, her hug lingering in my thoughts, I couldn't help but wonder if this trip, this one moment, in a place so far from everything familiar, might be the perfect opportunity. A once-in-a-lifetime setting to finally take that step. Our journey began with a stop in Lima. The airport was loud, chaotic and alive, a sharp contrast to what awaited us. After a short flight and several hours on the road, we finally arrived in Junín. The climate hit me immediately. The air was cold but clean, sharp in my lungs, carrying the scent of earth and grass. The wind moved gently through the mountains, and even though I didn't understand the words people spoke, their kindness was unmistakable. Warm smiles, hands pointing directions, small laughs shared without language. We stayed in a rustic hotel made of stone and wood, the kind of place that creaks when you walk and smells like firewood in the mornings. They served a traditional breakfast: hot bread, local cheese, herbal infusions that warmed my body from the inside out. It felt grounding, like we were truly far from home. That's where we met Daniel, our guide. He was quiet, weathered, with eyes that looked like they had seen too much. He briefed us on the essentials before our trekking route to Hatton Malka. We told him our plan: leave in the late afternoon, arrive at night. I had seen photos of the Andean night sky, endless stars, the Milky Way stretching across the heavens. I imagined standing there with Rose, the moment unfolding perfectly. What she didn't know was that I had packed something special. A small handmade box filled with photos of us over the years, memories pressed into paper. Everything was planned. Every detail mattered. Then Daniel ruined the mood. He warned us about a legend. A Pishtaco, a supernatural being that roamed the Andes, preying on distracted travelers, skinning them alive to extract their fat for medicinal purposes. The words felt heavy in the air. I laughed nervously, brushing it off. Rose didn't. I could see fear settle into her eyes. She suggested we go during the day instead. I didn't want my plan to fall apart. Keeping my voice calm, careful not to sound desperate, I explained that these beliefs were common in remote areas: culture, history, myths passed down through generations. To my relief, she hesitated, then agreed. The day came. Daniel dropped us off at the start of the trail, once again warning us to be careful. By then, his concern was starting to irritate me. It felt like he was determined to ruin what was supposed to be perfect. The hike took about 2 hours. The terrain was uneven, rocky, silent except for our footsteps and the wind brushing against tall grass. The mountains loomed around us like ancient sentinels. Along the path, we noticed dark stains on the ground and rocks. Deep reddish patches. Rose asked about them, her voice shaky. I told her it was probably some kind of mineral oxidation. As night fell, the sky revealed itself in a way no photograph ever could. Thousands of stars burned above us, and the Milky Way stretched like a luminous scar across the darkness. It was breathtaking. We reached the ruins and realized we were completely alone. The entrance was blocked by a sign warning people to stay out. We ignored it and walked around, hand in hand. I kept telling Rose it would be worth it. We set up the tent among the ruins. My heart was pounding, not from fear, but anticipation. I pulled out the small box. My fingers trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of the moment. Rose sat in front of me, wrapped in her jacket, her face softly lit by the lantern. I thought about how many years she had been there, without me ever daring to cross that invisible line between friendship and something more. This place, this night, this sky. It all felt like it was giving me permission. I looked at her and felt that familiar warmth in my chest. The quiet certainty that if there was one person I wanted beside me when the world turned dark, it was her. That's when we heard footsteps. Made no sense. We were in the middle of nowhere. At first, I told myself it was an alpaca wandering nearby. Then small stones started hitting our tent. My skin crawled. The footsteps returned, heavier now, and then something worse. A sound that mimicked a horse, or maybe a camel. Wrong. Unnatural. My mind refused to accept danger. I clung to logic because fear felt unacceptable. I had brought her here. Whatever this was, it was my responsibility. I forced myself to stay calm for her sake. I kept thinking, don't scare her. Don't let this moment collapse. But when the sound came, those warped, hollow imitations of a horse, I felt something primal awaken inside me. This wasn't just fear anymore. It was instinct. The kind that makes your body react before your mind catches up. I shouted threats into the darkness, trying to scare it away. The response was immediate. A machete pierced through the tent. My heart exploded into my throat, and every thought became razor sharp. I remember thinking, with terrifying clarity, if I die here, she can't. That was the only thing that mattered. I didn't feel brave. I felt desperate, furious. I lifted the tent and wrapped it around the attacker. My mind screamed that this was wrong. That people don't move like that. Don't sound like that. The silhouette was human-shaped but wrong. Leather clinging to its body, black hair spilling wildly, movements too erratic. When it made those animal sounds, something deep inside me broke. Legends aren't supposed to breathe. Myths aren't supposed to bleed into reality. I grabbed Rose's hand and ran. We didn't know where. We just ran. Her hand was cold, shaking violently in mine. Every time she stumbled, my heart skipped, convinced we were about to lose everything. She kept asking what was happening, her voice cracking, soaked in terror. I told her she was safe, that I wouldn't let anything happen to her. Even as my lungs burned and my legs screamed for mercy. When we saw the flashlight, it felt like salvation. It was Daniel, shacking the light as if warning us to hurry up even more. Daniel's face was tense, furious even. Not at us, but at what was coming. He shouted for us to get behind him. When the creature emerged from the darkness again, my blood ran cold. Up close, I saw the fangs. Too long, too thick. Its eyes reflected the light like an animal's. Then he threw a liquid toward it. The smell hit immediately. Sharp, bitter, like alcohol mixed with herbs. The creature shrieked, twisting violently. Daniel screamed words in Quechua, his voice raw and commanding. Kuti infernum in supe. Go back to hell, demon. As the creature retreated on all fours, disappearing into the ruins like a nightmare crawling back into the earth, I felt my knees weaken. Only then did the fear fully hit me. Only then did I realize how close I had come to losing her. We thanked Daniel, shaken beyond words. He told us he had come looking for us because others had reported a strange being in the area. I asked if we should contact the authorities. I mentioned the stains on the path, the occasional smell of sulfur in the air. He shook his head. That thing would kill any police officer, he said. The best thing to do was to respect its territory. Later, when my hands finally stopped shaking, I asked him what that liquid was. He told us it was a mixture of alcohol, herbs, and animal fat used in old Andean rituals. He said creatures like that recognize it. It burns them, reminds them they don't belong among the living. When Rose leaned into me afterward, still trembling, I felt something settle between us. I never gave her the gift. Somehow it didn't matter anymore. The words I wanted to say were written in my actions, in the way I never let go of her hand afterward. Today, when she laughs and tells people I saved her life, I always think the opposite. She gave mine meaning. And whenever I look at the stars now, I remember that some legends are real, and some moments forged in terror are stronger than any perfect plan I ever imagined. Now whenever we travel, we stick strictly to well-known places. No ruins at night, no isolated adventures, and definitely no creatures from ancient legends. This year was, for the most part, really good. After saving for a long time, I finally bought the car I'd been dreaming about for years, a 2006 Subaru WRX STI. I'm a huge rally fan. Always have been, and I grew up watching YouTube videos of that exact car tearing through dirt roads and mountain passes all over the world. Owning one felt unreal, like I had unlocked a childhood achievement. Everything was fine, except for one experience I never want to repeat. One that could have been avoided if I had just been more responsible and used some basic common sense. I'm originally from Palpa, a small, quiet, picturesque town in Ica, Peru. When we were younger, my brother and I used to visit our Aunt Nellie all the time. She'd welcome us with a huge plate of Tallarín rojos, her specialty. I still remember watching her crush tomatoes in a stone mortar, completely fascinated by something so simple. Life felt lighter back then, but growing up meant responsibilities, distance, and time pulling us away from that place and those moments. So when summer came around, I suggested to my brother that we go visit her again, just to reconnect with those memories. It wasn't easy to coordinate because of work and time, but somehow we made it happen. I was genuinely happy, and I could tell my brother was too. He kept saying how badly he wanted to see our aunt and taste those red noodles again. Riding on that excitement, and still high from having just bought the Subaru, I suggested we take it for the trip. It had enough space for both of us and our bags, and honestly, I just wanted an excuse to drive it. The next morning, we hit the road. We sang along to old songs from our childhood, stopped to have breakfast, bought snacks from the same roadside shops we used to go to years ago. Everything felt perfect, almost too perfect. At some point during the night, I was driving with the music turned low because my brother had fallen asleep. It was pitch black. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the road lines and the dust floating in the air. That's when reality slammed into us. The front right tire blew out violently, and the car started to slide. My heart jumped straight into my throat, but pure instinct kicked in. I held the steering wheel tight, focused on not dying, and managed to stabilize the car until we came to a stop. Luckily, I wasn't speeding. My brother jolted awake and immediately asked if I was okay. Once the adrenaline faded and we caught our breath, he asked the question I knew was coming. Had I taken the car for maintenance after buying it? I admitted I hadn't. He got mad, really mad. How does it even cross your mind to do a 5-hour trip in a nearly 20-year-old car without checking it first? I told him I'd been so excited that it completely slipped my mind. He called me incredibly irresponsible, but said we had to focus on solving the problem now. We got out to check the damage. He looked at the tire and then at me. "Please tell me you have a spare." I slowly shook my head no. He covered his face and sighed deeply. "Great. And now what?" "We don't even have signal." I remembered an old gas station near a place called Rio Grande, but it was so dark I had no idea how far we were from it. My brother, clearly annoyed and tired, said, "I have an idea. I'll keep sleeping in the car, and you deal with this." Try flagging someone down. It's your problem." I understood his frustration and nodded. About 20 minutes passed. Nothing. One truck went by and didn't even slow down. Then I heard knocking on the car. I turned around. Nothing there. A few minutes later, I heard it again. I was confused but stayed alert. Then my brother called out, irritated. "Hey, stop messing around. This isn't funny." I asked him what he meant. "You're tapping on the windows and hiding when I tell you to stop." I told him I had no idea what he was talking about. The look on his face changed. Confusion mixed with fear. "Just stop joking," he said. I told him I was behind the car the whole time and that he was probably still half asleep. I handed him a soda to calm him down. When I sat back in the driver's seat to grab the can from the cup holder, I noticed something coming from the darkness. The headlights revealed something crawling out of the fog. It looked like a person wrapped in a silky blanket, dragging itself forward, crying for help in a raspy, unnatural voice. Its arms were exposed. Too thin, too pale. I froze. Every instinct in me was screaming that this was wrong. My brother whispered, telling me not to move, that whatever that thing was, it wanted us to leave the car. Suddenly, its voice changed, choking, whining like an angry child. Then it stood up unnaturally fast. The way it stood there, swaying slightly, its limbs too long and too loose, made my brain scream that it wasn't meant to move like that. Then it started coming toward us, lunging forward in uneven jumps, its joints popping softly with every movement. The sounds it made were unbearable, a mix of choking, gurgling breaths, and this strained whimper that crawled under my skin. I couldn't stop thinking, this thing knows we're here. This thing knows we're scared. My hands were shaking as I locked the door. The thing let out a shrill scream, and its face, if you could call it that, opened into a mouth where there shouldn't have been one. It sprinted toward us and slammed its head against my door with no hesitation, no rhythm. Just violent, desperate impacts. Each hit made the glass flex inward slightly, and every time it did, my stomach twisted because I was sure the next one would be the one that shattered it. I couldn't stop imagining shards cutting into my face, its hands coming through the opening, grabbing whatever it could reach. I could barely hear my brother anymore over the pounding of my own heartbeat. The sounds it made were unbearable. Deep, distorted moans mixed with sharp, animal screeches that didn't sound like they came from a throat, more like something being forced out of a body that wasn't built to make noise at all. It dragged its face along the window, slowly, deliberately, leaving fog and streaks as if it wanted us to know it was right there, inches away. I couldn't bring myself to look directly at it anymore. Every time I did, my brain screamed that this wasn't something alive in the way we understand life. The first scrape of its claws against the metal made my whole body jolt. It was a long, drawn-out screech, like nails dragged across bone. The car rocked as it pulled itself up, and I felt the weight settle on the hood, then crawl upward. The roof dented with a hollow bang, metal bending inward, reducing the space above our heads. I remember thinking, this car is too small. We're trapped in a box with it. And that thought alone almost made me vomit. It slammed itself down again, directly above us. Dust fell from the ceiling. Something cracked. The creature's breathing was right there. I could hear it sniffing, scraping, feeling around, like it was mapping the car, learning where we were. I had this overwhelming certainty that it understood the concept of doors, of glass, of weak points. That it wasn't mindless, that it was patient enough to break us. My hands felt wrong on the steering wheel, like they didn't belong to me anymore. I tried to turn the key and missed the ignition twice because I couldn't control my fingers. I started laughing. Short, panicked bursts. Because part of my brain couldn't process the situation and defaulted to something meaningless. The creature reacted to the sound, slamming its full weight onto the roof, claws digging in deeper, tearing, peeling metal. The noise was deafening. The car felt like it was being torn open piece by piece. When the engine finally started, I floored it. The creature let out a shriek so sharp it felt like it pierced straight through my skull. It slammed its head down again, harder than before, and for a split second, I genuinely believed the roof would collapse and we'd be crushed under it. My brother screamed my name at the top of his lungs, pure terror, no words left. I didn't think. I just acted. I slammed the brakes with everything I had. The creature flew forward, hit the ground, and for half a second it lay there, twisted and wrong, trying to get back up. That half second was enough. I stepped on the gas and ran it over. The sound still haunts me. Bones cracking, something snapping underneath us. The car jolting violently as if we'd driven over a pile of debris instead of something alive. The roof caved in a little more as we passed, and then it was behind us. In the side mirror, illuminated by the fading red glow of the taillights, I saw it writhing on the asphalt, twitching, shrinking back into the darkness like it was being swallowed by the road itself. Neither of us spoke. We were shaking, crying, gasping for air, hands numb, minds blank. I didn't slow down. I didn't look back again. The Subaru, bless it, held together just long enough to reach that old gas station. We called a tow truck and eventually finished the trip. The car had damage to the suspension and fuel tank. Somehow that thing had caused all of that. And the fuel gauge kept dropping as we drove. We never told our aunt what happened. She noticed we were tense, but we didn't want to scare her. My brother made it very clear we were not driving back at night. We left early in the morning after a full inspection and repairs. Lesson learned. I've been passionate about soccer for as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a kid, it's been my escape, my motivation, the thing that gave structure to my life. I honestly feel lucky to have found something so healthy and intense so early on. But because of that same obsession, because I wanted to keep getting better no matter what, there was one day during my school years when I came terrifyingly close to losing my life. It was a completely normal school day. I was in communication class when the bell rang for recess. My friends and I rushed out like always, straight to the concrete court to play a quick match. Back then, I had a certain status. I played for the school team in local tournaments. People knew me, respected me. I was used to being the best one on the court. Then the new kid showed up. He asked my friends if he could join, and I remember smirking a little, saying something like, "Yeah, but go easy, don't want to embarrass yourself." I cringe thinking about that now. The way he moved with the ball was unreal, like dancing. Smooth, confident, effortless. It felt like he had Brazilian blood running through his veins. He dribbled past me again and again, scored goal after goal, and every time, people clapped. My friends cheered for him. The girls watched in awe. I stood there, burning inside, thinking, this isn't happening, this is my court. When the bell rang again, I immediately demanded a rematch for the next day. I needed my respect back. My crown. But deep down, I had no idea how I was supposed to beat someone clearly playing in a different league. That's when the idea came to me. I'd stay after school. hide in the classroom at the end of the hallway until night fell. I'd have the entire court to myself. No distractions. No witnesses. Just me and the ball. I was determined, obsessed, convinced this was necessary. After classes ended, I bought a chicken sandwich and a bottle of water so I wouldn't starve while waiting. I sat there in silence, listening. Kids' voices faded. Parents' footsteps disappeared. Doors slammed shut one by one. Every now and then, I peeked through the windows and watched the school slowly die into silence. Hours passed. When I finally stepped out, it was dark, cold, and empty. Perfect. One single light pole illuminated the goal. I went to the PE teacher's storage room and grabbed the ball. The place felt massive now. Too big, too quiet. I started training. Every kick, every shot against the post, every rebound echoed through the emptiness. Suddenly, I heard some strange noises. I stopped dead. There were curtains moving. I heard someone running, desks scraping against the floor. My heart jumped. That's impossible, I thought. I made sure I was alone. I hesitated, but my obsession pushed me forward. I kept practicing. What freaked me out was that every time the ball hit something, there was a response from that classroom, like a conversation made of noises. My skin crawled. I left the ball and started walking toward the building, slowly, every sense alert. Then a faint light turned on inside the classroom. Not electric, weak, flickering, like a candle. I froze when a voice came from the darkness and said, calmly, "Keep playing." I didn't even have time to process that when I heard it. The squeals of a pig, screaming, dying. Then everything exploded at once. Windows shattered. The classroom door burst open. Someone came running out. They were covered head to toe in a robe, wearing a mask that looked tribal, red-colored, and cracked. They were laughing while running straight at me. Pure terror took over. I ran in the opposite direction without thinking. My legs felt like they weren't mine anymore. My chest burned. As I ran, I saw the ball on the court, and for reasons I still don't fully understand, I decided to use it. I positioned myself, turned, and shot it straight at him. He stopped, tried to dodge it. The ball grazed his face. Just a second. But that second was enough. I gained distance and ran into the darkness. I locked myself inside the PE storage room and pressed my back against the cold metal shelves, covering my mouth with both hands to keep my breathing quiet. My heart was slamming so hard, I was sure he could hear it. Through a small crack in the door, I saw him moving across the court. Slow now, deliberate, like a predator that knew its prey was close. The knife hung loosely from his hand at first, then he started playing with it, tossing it slightly into the air, catching it, dragging the blade across the concrete just to hear the sound. Then he started talking, not to me, not to anyone, just to the night. He whispered things I couldn't fully understand, a mix of chanting and screams, his voice shifting between calm and rage. Sometimes it sounded like a prayer, sometimes like he was mocking me. "Come out," he murmured, almost lovingly. Then louder, angry, "I just need you to give me a hand." He walked closer to the storage room, slow steps, stopping every few seconds to listen. I stayed frozen, every muscle screaming, sweat running down my spine. I thought, this is it. This is where I die. He pressed the knife against his own mask and scraped it, producing a horrible metallic whine, then slammed it into a wooden bench nearby just to hear it crack. For a second, I swear he was right outside the door. I felt my legs shaking uncontrollably, my vision narrowing, my entire body begging me to disappear. Then, after what felt like hours but was probably seconds, he stepped back. He muttered something angry, spat on the floor, and slowly made his way back toward the classroom, still chanting under his breath, still dragging the knife like he was disappointed the night hadn't fed him. Only when the sounds faded completely did I dare move. I waited longer than necessary, terrified of making even the smallest noise, before finally slipping out and running home without ever looking back. When I arrived, my mom was waiting. Angry, worried, terrified. I told her everything. She called the police immediately. The next morning, classes were suspended. They said they found the classroom filled with candles, strange symbols, and animal parts. The man had been performing some kind of ritual. No one knows what he was trying to summon or achieve. All I know is that I wasn't meant to be part of it. That classroom was sealed forever after that. Security at the school was reinforced. And for me, it became a permanent reminder that evil doesn't care about places being innocent. Sometimes it hides right where you feel safest. If you made it to the end of this video, I sincerely thank you for your time. Please let me know what did you think about my stories and which topics could be interesting to cover in the future. Consider subscribing to keep this project strong as I prepare more chilling stories for you to enjoy. Cheers.